She called the cops and screamed, "Arrest him!" But I was on my own land. The scream tore through the quiet street like a siren. I had just stepped out with the last box when Mrs. Hargrove, Karen, the one everybody whispered about, slammed a bright paper on my new front door and wagged her finger like she owned the block. "You can't live here anymore," she spat, voice sharp enough to cut paint. People from 2 houses over appeared on their porches, eyes hungry for a show. She read from the paper like it was gospel. "This is official HOA notice. Remove your car, pack your things, or we'll seize the property." Her tone sat somewhere between terror and triumph, the kind of voice that thinks rules bend just because it breathes. My neighbor Jake stepped forward, red-faced, but I raised a hand. I didn't shout back. Calm isn't weakness, it's a choice. "That notice is fake," I said, simple as a fact. Her smile cracked. "Fake? I'm on the HOA board," she lied, loud enough for everyone to hear. Then she did the thing she always does. Phones out, calling for backup. "I'm calling the cops," she announced like she was booking a ticket. The woman next door whispered, "She does this every time someone moves in." As the line chirped, Karen's voice shifted into pity. "You don't belong here." I felt anger rise, hot and clean, but I kept my hands where anyone could see them. My kid, clutching a stuffed soldier, peered from the open doorway, eyes wide. Before the caller could say a word, my doorbell camera pinged. It was small, almost nothing, but it had been recording every move since I signed the papers that morning. I tapped my phone and the footage played on the porch TV I'd set up for the neighbors, clear as day. Karen slipping the notice under the mat, her finger tracing words she hadn't written. Gasps. Her perfect smile faltered. That's my copy," she stammered, then tried a new angle. "You're trespassing on HOA land." A lie, but loud. Someone laughed, nervous and thin. Karen's voice climbed. "If you don't leave, we'll seize you by force if we have to." Her phrase hung in the air like a threat painted on the sky. The neighbor shifted, unsure. Then, out of nowhere, a tired-looking man in a worn cap took a slow step forward and said, "I know that deed. My brother filed it last year." Heads turned, Karen's hands curled into fists, her mask slipped. I felt a sudden cold thrill. This wasn't just a land fight, it was exposure. I didn't shout, "I'm a vet," or flash a badge. I only said, "You want proof?" and tapped another file on my phone. The recorded closing, the official deed, and a single line that changed the posture of everyone watching. Karen's face went from fury to white-hot panic. She reached into her purse as if to call louder, but the porch TV was already showing the title company's stamp and my name. Her next move would either destroy her or make her dangerous. "You can't just do this and get away with it," she hissed toward me, but her voice had lost its crowd. Then footsteps came, not the too polite ones of neighbors, but heavy, quick steps from the street. Someone announced, "Uniforms!" For a beat, all of us held our breath. Karen's eyes flicked to the street and then back to me, the threat returning like a rising tide. I smiled, only a little, and said, "You tried to bully my family today. That's not how it ends." Her jaw clenched. The real test was about to begin. They came fast, 2 men in dark jackets, badges that glittered in the sun, and a third with a clipboard. Karen's chest puffed like a rooster as they walked up the path. "See? I told you," she crowed, handing a paper to the nearest man. The taller one read it slowly, then looked at me like I'd offended a god. "Sir, you need to step away from the property," he said, voice calm but firm. The kid hugged the stuffed soldier tighter. My heart thudded, but my hand stayed where everyone could see. Jake moved forward to block them. "Hold up! Who are you exactly?" he asked. The tall man smiled thinly. "We're HOA Compliance," he said. "We were called about an unlawful occupant." The man with the clipboard tapped the notice and said, "We can place a hold and arrange removal." The word removal sounded like a guillotine. My neighbor's face went pale. The tired man in the cap, who'd spoken earlier, narrowed his eyes and muttered something under his breath. I reached for my phone to record. Comfort. Proof. When the tall man snapped, "No recordings during enforcement." The line was quiet. People looked at me, then at the men, then back again. Karen stepped in, triumphant. "We'll do what's necessary." Her hand shook, but she held her chin up. The taller man signaled, and one of them moved toward my car as if to lock the wheels. My stomach dropped. My mind raced. Fake notice, now men claiming authority. The immediate injustice hit like a slap. They could tow my car, lock my gates, take everything before a real court said anything. The kid started to cry. That sound, small and raw, made something inside me cold and steady. Then the thin man with the clipboard frowned, and his eyes met the tired man's. "You?" he said, like recognition peeled a sticker off his face. The tired man didn't twitch. "You took my brother's land," the thin man said, louder now, anger bleeding through the calm. Heads turned. The tall man's jaw gave a tiny tick. Karen's face lost color. "This is our case," she barked, but her words no longer filled the air. The thin man's badge flashed closer to the tired man's face, not to threaten, but to test him. "If this deed is clean, then we're off the clock." He tapped his radio, and then, in a voice that dropped to a whisper only a few could hear, "But if it's not, we'll have to follow orders." Orders. That word hung heavy. My phone screen lit up with messages from the title company. Confirmations, file numbers, timestamps. I showed them to the tall man. He squinted, then swallowed. For a moment, hope rose like a small bird, but Karen didn't give up. She suddenly lunged forward, pointing at my kid, voice wild. "I refuse to let you teach my grandchildren how to break our rules." The phrase was ugly, and it made the angry neighbor in the faded cap step between Karen and my child without thinking. The thin man sighed and looked at Karen with something like pity. Then he made a call on his radio and closed his eyes for a second, a beat that stretched into forever. When he opened them, he said, loud enough for the street to hear, "We can't remove anyone without a court order. We can, however, file a trespass report." Karen's mouth dropped. The threat shifted. No immediate seizure, but the machinery of trouble, reports, fines, legal papers. It was smaller than a toe, but it would sting for months. A neighbor spat quietly. Someone whispered, "She'll bury him in fees." My fists tightened. I felt cornered by rules and by people who used hard words like weapons. I looked at the tired man. His eyes met mine, and something passed between us, a small promise. I didn't say I had proof of anything else. I didn't say I had friends in uniforms. I only said, soft but clear, "You don't get to scare my child." The thin man's face shifted then, like he'd been handed a different script. He nodded once and stuffed the clipboard under his arm. Karen's scream was quiet now, more of a broken sound than a battle cry. As they walked back toward the street, the tall man paused and turned his head. "One more thing," he called. "We'll be back with paperwork." His voice was flat, but the street heard the promise. Karen's smile returned for just a second, hungry like a vulture sighting rain. I watched them go, and the porch felt colder. The camera on my door blinked red, recording still. I slid a hand into my pocket and felt the weight of another phone, a second contact, a card I hadn't used yet. I didn't show it. Instead, I picked up the kid and whispered, "We fixed this right." The kid sniffed and asked, small and brave, "Do they take our house?" I looked at the TV showing the closing stamp, into Karen's furious face, then back at my child. "Not today," I said. But in my head, another fight had already begun.